Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to this episode of The Chief. Chief Mark Saunders joins us, as he does every month, and also today, Inspector Steve Watts, who works with the Drug Squad, spoke a couple segments ago about the dispensaries, where things stand there. I got an email that we got from Joe Furtado, who says, you guys are doing a great job trying to put a stop to these dispensaries with some success. Please don't stop. The sidewalks stink. Ever since the federal elections, numbers of people who now think that they are not only able to buy the stuff, but smoke it anywhere. Is this a problem that we can eliminate? It's the smoking on the street part, too. What happens with that? I mean, you and I see it every day around this neighborhood.
Well, I think with that type of, in relation to that, it's a good email. You have the kind of effects that are resulting that are not necessarily direct, but an indirect effects, and that is an indirect effect of having, dispensaries that are unlawful in highly populated residential business areas. So that's just going to be one of the aspects of having that type of activity in that area.
Let's talk more about some of the harder, more illicit drugs that are out there, getting into the hands of young people in a very easy way. And you've got some startling numbers to share, and then tell me about how that relates to Toronto. Want to start with?
Sure. Go ahead. We're talking fentanyl now? Okay. Fentanyl, for those of viewers that don't know, 100 times more potent than morphine. Analgesic, used for, primarily reserved for palliative care and severe, major surgery, surgical patients. It's manufactured at a very, to a very high scale in China primarily, and coming into North America, a high volume of it coming into North America. The issue with fentanyl is it's mixed with primarily with either cocaine, heroin, and once it's mixed with that particular product, it takes on the smell of the product it's mixed with. So even if you're an experienced user, a lot of people, you do not have the ability to understand what you're buying. So the substance has essentially been adulterated. You're not purchasing what you think you purchased, and you cannot tell by the sight, and it takes the smell. So
is a dealer dosing this regular supply? Like if he's dealing to someone who's bought from them before, is he dosing, ramping this stuff up so you get a unique new high so he can undercut the other sellers? Because it sounds like the risk of somebody getting very sick or dying should outweigh that, even for a dealer, you would think.
Yeah, I would say no to that, not necessarily intentionally. I mean, there may be some specific cases, but if you're creating a large load or mixing up a large batch, depending on if you're not using, laboratory techniques, and let's face it, a lot of these street-level dealers are not using lab equipment and proper mixing procedures, within that particular batch, you can get what they call a hot spot. You can get, and so it's just basically it's not a perfect science, right?
Sure.
You're not buying pharmaceutical grade. It's, it comes from the pharmacy primarily by a transdermal patch. That's one thing. Well, now you get into how are the patches manipulated, right? The patch is meant to last, for 72 hours. You can manipulate that patch and extract the fentanyl from it, and that's where we run into the health issues and the public safety and the public health issues with that. So
street sales of coke, heroin, I mean, they're being cut with a proportion of fentanyl as well as God knows whatever else is going in there, correct?
No quality control.
It could be in pill form too, with more party drugs as well?
Absolutely, no quality control. A lot of it, there's a well-known drug, OxyContin 80s. They call them greenies. They're a very distinct, very common logo. I know out west, the West Coast has seen fentanyl disguised as Oxy 80s, which is problematic, obviously, if you think you're taking Oxy 80s. Yeah. So.
And the number you shared during the break was how many?
It was, I was speaking with the chief from Vancouver 2 weeks ago, and he's at 377 drug overdoses in Vancouver.
Around fentanyl?
You bet. The majority is fentanyl related, yeah. Yeah. Wow. So it's a huge problem out west, and we've been monitoring and trying to track the sources of fentanyl as it comes into the city, and we've got some folks from the drug squad that are experts, and that's one of their primary targets.
All we were talking about was heroin just a couple of years ago, and here this just fell into the lap, right? It's incredible.
Yes, yes.
The turnaround.
Yes.
All right, Inspector, Chief, thanks very much. We'll take a short break here on this edition of The Chief. Welcome back to this episode of The Chief. Chief Mark Saunders joins us now. We've covered a lot of territory. Let's look forward a little bit, not too long. Sorry, kids, it's back to school time. And you did touch on it briefly. What kind of safety initiatives are in place and in play?
Well, you know, our divisions, it's Project Focus, and what it is to, we're going to have more enforcement around the school zones, looking for those people that are going to be speeding, that are not going to be paying attention to when they're supposed to be stopping, the crosswalks. So the pedestrians, the vehicles, and the cyclists are all on high alert right now to make sure that they're obeying the law. There's going to be a lot more volume on the streets now, and that's what generally happens. And so the first couple of weeks, it takes people to kind of get their muscle memory back so that they start, you know, utilizing their abilities a little bit better. Distraction driving is another thing that we're going to be looking at, and it's going to be a full court press. We want to make sure that no young boy or girl gets injured in, you know, their return back to school. It'll be a horrible start, and so we'll be there. You'll notice us. There'll be high visibility right across all the schools across the city.
You know, vehicles are a lot more forgiving. They're safer. They're easier to drive. They give you a lot better look around you, but there's no substitution for just good hands on the wheel, undistracted driving.
And drive slower.
And slower.
Yeah, drive slower. Yeah.
It's so easy to think A to B. I got to get there faster.
And
What's a couple of minutes,
you
right?
put a couple of little kids in the equation, excited and just not paying attention for that 1 second, and you know, it's a life changer. So we all have to take our part.
Well, a poll came out recently, Forum, and it says that you are 20% more popular now than you were last spring. 68%. You are tied with Mayor Tory. You're in Tory territory, and that's a good place to be.
Wow.
More popular, or they feel you're doing a better job even in the suburbs versus the core a little bit. What accounts for this? Because this is not an anomaly here. This is a significant bump and jump in your favorability numbers.
Yeah, well, you know, George, I'm careful with polls first and foremost, but what I'm hoping is I'm hoping that the community understands that Toronto Police is making a strong effort to embrace our relationship with the community, to gain more trust. These are things that I've been talking about, the consultations that we've been holding to talk to the community, to say, look, this is what we're going to be going through. This is going to be the modernization, and we're serious about it, and we want your input. And I think it's starting to gain some legitimacy, and by and large, the men and women are doing a great job out there, and so they're helping make me look good, which is great. So when I've got good unit commanders and I've got good reinforcement and a great command and men and women out there in the street, it's a collective effort by the end of the day. It really is.
You're a humble guy. Don't sell yourself short. I wonder what kind of numbers I would get if I was polled.
Oh,
what do you think?
You'd be 98. As long as you wear that suit,
yeah, I mean,
that's right,
yeah. It's all the suit. Okay, we're going to wrap this show up with a very special visit that you had from a young boy named Adam, 6 years old. We'll show some pictures. Tell me a bit about this encounter, this sweet young kid, and why the connection.
Well, you know, Adam is a survivor of, you know, a horrible circumstance that occurred in his life. And one of the great opportunities of being a chief is I get the opportunity of meeting some amazing people. And Adam, to me, just represents hope. Fantastic young man who's going to go places for sure. And if you see the pictures, cute as cute can be. And I was touched by having the opportunity of making Adam a chief for a day. And we got him to the Marine unit with his mom. And today he's missing karate to make sure that I say hello to him. So hello, Adam, and hopefully Sensei, give Adam a bit of a break for this one because Adam's a really cool kid, and I hope to make him chief again another day.
Awesome. We just have just enough time to talk about the next series of community police meetings, these town halls. You've got a few more coming up before Christmas, right?
We've got 3 more. I believe the last one is November 4th and November 5th. But to be exact, please have a look at the report. It's on www.torontopolice.on.ca/thewayforward. And that opens up the report, and you have all the information. You can even give us input on what you think you can do to help make the Toronto Police Service better. It will give you an idea of when the next consultations are. The consultations have been good, very healthy. We've learned a lot. And we've learned that when you go into different areas of the city, it's not a one-size-fits-all. There are common principles about trust, transparency, accountability, affordability, all of those things. But every community wants something different from the Toronto Police. And so this is a great opportunity for us to learn from the community, but more importantly, ultimately that we can get their input so we can transform the Toronto Police Service.
It's all about listening, because you never learn anything when you're talking, right? That's what
That's what I listen to my wife all the time.
Happy wife, happy life.
You bet.
Chief, thanks so much.
Okay.
Always a pleasure.